Hey everyone, Weekly Reviews here. It is Wednesday, which means it's time for my Once Upon a Time recap. So to recap on tonight's episode, it was definitely a David-centric theme episode. We got a lot of questions answered about his past that we didn't know. The episode starts off with James and David as babies, and apparently they were very sick, and Rumple offers them a deal that if they give one of their twins to King George, then he'll give him medicine to, heal the babies. And of course, I knew Rumple was kind of behind that somehow, but it was kind of bizarre how the decision behind which twin would go with which. It was just flip a damn coin, basically. So that's how I decided that Prince James would be raised by King George. And we see in Storybrooke, David's kind of struggling with trying to figure out what happened to his father. He's starting to see the ghost of his father, whether that's part of the curse or the lack of sleep he's having. They didn't quite clarify, but apparently his father wants justice, so he actually enlists the help of Killian to kind of figure out what happened, where he died. And we see in the past that, well, in the past we've known that David's father was apparently a drunk, but that's not necessarily the case. He was, but he wanted to give it up to prove that he wanted to be a good family man. So he is in his tavern and he finds out from King George that James is been kidnapped, so he wants to do what he can to help find him. So he goes back to Rumple, and Rumple thinks that he wants his son back, and James, his father says, no, I just want to help him. So Rumple says that he needs one of his hairs, and he'll show David's father where exactly James is. And apparently he's on Pleasure Island, which is from the Pinocchio world. And I'm quite curious if they're going to divulge more into that, because I know in the Pinocchio fairy tale that if you're in Pleasure Islands for so long, the boys actually end up turning into a donkey. That didn't happen. But we find out when Killian and David were working together that that's actually where David's father died. So we see that we see that David's father meets Pinocchio. So Pinocchio's able to help him locate James, and James doesn't want to go back to King George because King George wants him to be a knight, but James doesn't want to kill anybody. So that's when he says that he wants to take James home. He has a brother, which he was happy about, and take him home. But then King George is at the docks of Pleasure Island, and at first, he's grateful that his son's found, but he says to King George that he's not going to go home with him. So King George actually has David's father killed, and I thought, oh my gosh, that is just, I would have never guessed that David's adopted father killed his biological father. So that was interesting, and we actually got to see where King George was all this time, because we haven't seen him since season 2, and apparently he's been in the basement hospital all this time. So David goes to confront his father, and King George tells him that his father wasn't a drunk and he was a good man, and he wanted to do what was best for his son up until the end. And it's actually Killian who saves David from making the mistake and killing King George. So David doesn't kill him, and his father finally got some justice. So we saw to tie in with what was going on there. Killian went to Archie because he's afraid that he'll never be good enough for Emma and David's eyes, and we find out that Killian actually wants to propose to Emma, and I'm like, that wasn't really a surprise, because we kind of seen that coming. We knew it was either going to be Robin and Regina, which the writers have said that Robin's only going to be here for a few episodes, so we knew it was going to be a Captain Swan wedding. So he wants to propose, but he wants David's permission. So he's helping him all this time, and we see at the end that David asks Killian, how could I ever repay you? And then that's when Killian asks for David's permission to marry Emma, and he gives him his permission. But we find out something very interesting at the end of the episode. The fact that it was not King George who killed David's father, but it was actually Killian. He actually saved him at first from the king's men, and then Killian wanted to take the reward for himself, and, David's father was, like, pleading with him, saying, I have nothing to offer. And Killian ends up killing him, so, yeah, I doubt there's going to be a Captain Swan wedding now after when we see that Emma and her family finds out that information, that Killian lied to David about it, and, that he's lied to Emma. I mean, we see that Killian truly hasn't changed. Also, what was going on is that Regina's adjusting to the Wish Realm Robin being in Storybrooke, and Snow's genuinely concerned about her because that's not the real Robin Hood, and also the fact that he has Roland and baby Robin around. So Regina's just, like, trying to struggle how to tell him all this information. And Zelena actually comes to the door, and that was kind of a confusing scene because she said that she was angry that Regina didn't tell Robin about baby Robin, and she wants him to see his daughter. But then Zelena says she doesn't want her daughter around him, like that. She said that basically Robin has no rights to his daughter and to stay away from her. And when Regina goes back, she sees Robin gone and sees this picture in the storybook of Sheriff of Nottingham. So Robin actually goes to try to kill Sheriff of Nottingham, but Regina stops him. And Regina takes Robin down to their vault, and there's this box that was Regina's. I'm not sure if we know what's in that. I'm not sure what's in it, but Robin was curious and wanted to know what was in it. And he was basically kind of arguing with Regina and calling her a hypocrite because in her vault she has all the hearts of her enemies and everything, but Regina's changed, but we're not exactly sure if this Robin has. And the two shared a kiss, and I was like, oh, this is so sweet, but then it got kind of heartbreaking because the facial expressions on Regina showed that this isn't the real Robin, and she even admitted that to Snow. She said that this isn't the Robin that I knew, that the kiss was like kissing a picture, or like kissing a memory, I think she said. And it's really heartbreaking for Regina because she, like Snow said herself, that she deserves this. Like, she's the one that deserves a ring on her finger. She's overcome so much, and it just seems like every season, like, something bad happens to Regina. Like, her whole life, it's bad event after bad thing happening to Regina. Like, nothing good can ever happen to her, and when something good happens, it's just always taken away from her. But we see that this Robin is definitely different because he stole the box in Regina's vault. So I'm very curious to see what he's going to be doing with that. But in the previews for next week's episode, we see that Gideon is confronting his dad, saying that he needs to kill Emma Swan. And I believe Killian's telling Dr. Hopper that his secret about him killing David's father, and he's like struggling, like, should I tell Emma? I'm thinking, yeah, if you're gonna marry this woman, you need to tell her this, and tell David, for crying out loud. So I hope you guys enjoyed Once Upon a Time tonight, and I hope you guys enjoyed my Once Upon a Time recap. If you guys want to check out Once Upon a Time, it is on Sundays, 8 p.m. on ABC. And until next time, stay Regal.